Hi, this is going to be the monthly reading for the sign of Aries. It's a tarot reading, and it's for people with their sun in Aries, their rising sign in Aries, um, their moon in Aries, or their part of fortune in Aries, or if they have planets in Aries, their significant points. Um, then this will be a reading for you for September 2020. And yeah, I offer private readings as well, and the links for that and the prices will be in contact information and will be in the description of this video. Um, anyway, uh, anyway, I'll start the reading now. I'm just going to shuffle the cards. I'm using the Radiant Wise Tarot deck, which is quite good actually. It's a variation of the Rider-Waite deck, but it's a lot more colorful and vibrant. Like, card popped out. I guess that'll be the first card. That's pretty cool, actually. Our first card for the reading, which is the first card. I'm doing a Celtic cross. I'm doing a Celtic cross reading for this. And the first card that actually popped out accidentally was the Emperor, which is the card of Aries, which is, yeah, pretty cool coincidence, actually, since this is the reading for Aries for September 2020. But yeah. Okay. Um, okay. Okay. To start off the reading, I pulled some. I shook some astro dice. I guess that's the right terminology for it. Um, so for the month of September 2020 for Aries, it looks like the planetary and astrological influence is going to be the North Node in Pisces in the fifth house. So essentially what that signifies is that during the month of September for Aries, and also one other thing I'd like to note is that this is a collective reading. It's for Aries in general, Aries people. And so with that being said, some of these insights are going to apply to certain people and some of them aren't. regardless of whether they're Aries or not. So my best advice is to take what resonates and to leave the rest. And, like I said, it's a general collective reading. So all of it is likely not going to resonate for everyone, you know. And if it doesn't resonate, then you can always check your other signs, like your rising sign, your moon sign, your sun sign, your part of fortune sign, and those readings may be more accurate. And there are also like lots of other great YouTube tarot readers as well. So anyway, yeah, the energy for September of 2020 for Aries, the planetary astrological energy, is the North Node in Pisces in the fifth house. So what does that signify? Well, the fifth house represents creativity and romance and sex and stuff like that. And the North Node represents like fated connections and like destiny and destined circumstances, And Pisces is the sign, it's the last sign of the zodiac. And it represents spirituality, sacrifice, compassion, empathy, um, and mysticism. So what that combination signifies is that for Aries in September of 2020, then it's more likely that they're going to meet fated romantic connections or fated sexual connections or um, fated connections like in general during the month of September. And like I said, it's in the fifth house, and the fifth house represents creativity and romance and sex mainly, and also children as well. So um, it could also mean that for Aries too, that if you've been looking to get pregnant or have kids, then this may be the month where it happens, right? So it's for Aries. You're very likely to be more fertile than normal. So, I mean, if you're planning for that, then great, But if you aren't, then, maybe an idea to wrap it up, right? But anyway, so in general sense, during the month of September, um, it's more likely that you're going to meet fated connections, and those connections are more likely to be romantic or sexual in nature, but they could also be just new, acquaintances, new friends, new connections and such like that. And also it could represent also new circumstances, like fated circumstances as well, that pop up, or fated like opportunities that pop up in your life. So, and since it's in Pisces, it's the North Node in Pisces in the fifth house. And since it's in Pisces, these spiritual or these connections, these new connections, if they're people, then they're probably going to be more likely Piscean in nature people. And that doesn't necessarily mean that their sun sign or their rising sign necessarily is Pisces, or even if they have planets there, they may not, right? It could just mean that they're more spiritual people, they're more empathetic people, they're more watery people, they're more emotional people, more psychic or mystical or spiritual people as well. So, yeah, and so that means that your connections, those new connections, they're more likely to have those characteristics than different characteristics. But also, the North Node in Pisces in the fifth house also signifies mystical and spiritual experiences as well. So you could have like fated and um, unexpected spiritual or mystical experiences as well too, like, such as um, perhaps interacting with some uh, non-corporeal entity such as a god or a spirit or something like that. Yeah. So that's what that's the astrological influences for September 2020. That, yeah. Um, and onto the tarot reading. Um, see what that has to say. Um, as the first card in the spread, the significator, which represents where you're at right now, or where you're going to be at around the beginning of September, is the Emperor, which is the sign. It's the card that's attributed to the sign of Aries, and the Emperor basically represents like a king or a leader or a boss. Like think of a CEO of a company, a hedge fund manager, a politician, anyone who manages like resources and people and stuff like that, and has a position of leadership and authority. Um, would That's what the emperor would signify, those types of people. So essentially what that means is that going into September, you Aries, you're us Aries, I'm an Aries Sun. So yeah, um, it's essentially means that going into September, us Aries, we're going to be have a position of leadership, a position of authority, and have a position of power going into September 2020. Well, that's also what the Emperor signifies, power. And more than that, the Emperor also represents like structure and logic and rationality. So going into September, Aries people, we're going to be thinking very rationally, and we're going to build up structures in our life that are going to carry us forward from the beginning of September on. And having built up those structures, there's also the matter of upkeep, and keeping those structures solid and stable. So there's the theme of September is for us is maintaining stability and maintaining the power and I guess the influence and the structures that we've built up. So there's that element involved in September for Aries. And the second card is the Ten of Swords, and the second card is what surrounds us during the month of September. And the Ten of Swords, it's like the worst looking card in all of the tarot deck. It's an evil looking card. The guy has like all these swords in his back, and he's bleeding on the ground. It's like, oh, jeez Louise. It's not a very positive looking card. But actually, it's better than most people think. It's not the best, obviously, but it's a decent card. In that it signifies that basically the worst is over. So essentially, the energies surrounding Aries during the month of September 2020 is an energy of the worst having already happened. And that essentially what that means is that during the month of September, things are only really going to get better for Aries generally. Which is good. And it also indicates that in the past, Aries, we've been going through struggles, and we've had challenges and problems and obstacles placed in our path. And this signifies that those obstacles and those challenges and those problems are either have come to an end or are coming to an end. So it's overall, having that as the surrounding card, it's not bad actually. Um, anyway, the card that crosses Aries, which is the third card, is the Six of Wands, and what that signifies during the month of September 2020 is that um, the Six of Wands represents victory, and it represents like public opinion and like social status and recognition and things like that. Um, so having the Six of Wands in the crossing position essentially means that during the month of September that for Aries that it means that positions of leadership and position social status and things like that are going to be themes that are going to be perhaps challenging to be kept in balance with regards to other life objectives, right? So this can manifest in a lot of different ways. The primary one that I'm sensing is that since the Emperor is in the first position, and since this is what's crossing the first position, the Six of Wands, this indicates that for Aries during September, um, like I said, with the Emperor in the first position, um, it means that we're in a position of authority and status and a leadership position, I guess, and that we've built up structures and consolidated a certain amount of power in our lives. And with the Six of Wands crossing the Emperor, what that indicates is that maintaining that power and building upon that power and um, being a role model and trying to set a good example and being an authority and all that are going to be areas that are going to be perhaps challenging, considering that um, we're thrust into a position of leadership and authority, and we're trying to walk a tightrope between meeting our own objectives and trying to build on the foundation that we've already established, while also trying to do that in a way that sets the right example and that sets in a way that sets the right example and in a way that allows us to be like role models and to also maintain whatever power and whatever status and whatever authority and leadership and power that we've built up. So basically, it represents that in the pursuit of our objectives, during September, that it's important to remember to stay ethical and to act responsibly and to act rationally and logically and morally, so that you can build upon, the things that you've already built and the structures and all that and power and status and all that stuff, while also doing so in a way that you can feel good about yourself at the end of the day still. Because the reality is, there are a lot of people out there, who have status, who have power, who have social status, who have all these things, right? And they didn't really get it in the most ethical way, They just fucking, maybe, they cheated a lot. Maybe they fucking, you know, maybe they tried to drag their rival's name through the mud, maybe they gossip and slander and, maybe they, clawed their way to the top, there are a lot of people like that. I'm not saying everyone who gets to the top and gets, power or authority or anything like that, or successful, does those things. I'm not saying that. There are some people that, do it ethically and, they do it because they're talented and good, right? And because they're lucky too, generally luck is a factor as well. But certainly there are, quite a few people who, get power, authority, and status through means that are, well, not very ethical, to say the least, right? So, with that being said, the challenge, I guess, during the month of September, one of the challenges for Aries would be to, in your quest to like achieve your objectives and to build, consolidate power, um, advance in your career or whatever, the case may be, uh, gain authority, status, whatever, that signifies for you personally. The challenge would be to do so in a way that is responsible and ethical and in a way that at the end of the day you can feel good about, because the reality is, they talk about, there's this idea, that people talk about how, people sell their souls and shit for just to get fame, and sometimes they talk about a literal sense, right? Literally, a person, signs a contract with Satan or something. It's like, okay, and then they get all this shit, right? Fucking, like, they're rock stars apparently who did that and stuff like that, right? There's stories of it anyway. But moreover, but generally it's more of a rhetorical or symbolic saying, where by selling their soul, what they mean is that in order to gain their power and their status or their wealth and those things, right? That the person basically like screwed over other people, and that the person was unethical and or greedy or backstabbing, opportunists, stuff like that, right? So everyone has goals and dreams and things that they want to accomplish, right? And I guess one of the messages from that would be that it may be an idea to think about, if for the things that you're trying to accomplish, well, what are you willing to do to get it? And what are you not willing to do? And where are your boundaries? What kind of things are what kind of things do you think um, you wouldn't do to gain more power or status or authority or leadership or career advancement, power, or any of those things are things that the emperor would signify in the starting position. So it would be an idea to think about, where you're, to think about your moral compass in regards to those objectives and goals, and to lay that out, in your head anyway. At least brainstorm about it, about things that you would do and things that you wouldn't do and why, you know, and that way you can make better decisions during September, from September onwards too, as well. Because it's always good to have your morality laid out for you beforehand anyway, if you can, when you're trying to accomplish things, because otherwise you know you may get stuck with moral choices that you don't really fucking know the answer to, right? Or that it may be harder to make a good decision in the heat of the moment, right? And that's the problem, that some people have, is that fucking um, they may come to a point in their life, where they have to make a choice, make a decision, right? And then perhaps they may make the wrong one, right? And but if you think about your morality before that, and you think about what your boundaries are, effectively, and you're aware of your own, weaknesses and limitations and strengths, then with self-awareness and consciousness, then and wisdom, knowledge of yourself and your circumstances, then you're more likely to make a better choice during those, tough choices that everyone, faces during their lives, right? But anyway, yeah, on to the fourth card of the reading. That's the World card. And the fourth card is the Foundation card, which means that the foundation of the reading is the World. And the World is the last trump card in the tarot deck. And what that indicates is that during the month of September, Aries, you should present yourself as someone who is accomplished and someone who is knowledgeable and someone who's experienced, because the World signifies all those things. And it also indicates that you should present yourself as someone who's already accomplished a great deal and who's already reached a graduation or a completion of a previous cycle and is starting anew during September. So it's important that you make sure that past achievements are recognized, past accomplishments are recognized, and that the work and the foundations that you've built in your life and the structures that you've built in your life um, are recognized and built upon, and hmm, and that also um, you should behave as though you're entering a new cycle, which essentially this combination of cards represents a new cycle, basically a new beginning, and that the previous cycle from before September has already ended, basically, or is about to end. And so that it indicates that September is going to be a fresh month. It's going to be a fresh start, more so for Aries than other months, most likely. And on to card number 5. Anyway, card number 5 is the Four of Swords. Oh, I should have been doing this from the start. Jeez Louise. I should have been doing this from the start. Well, I can show the cards, yeah, after this one, after I do this interpretation. I mean, anyway, yeah, first video, sorry. But anyway, the Four of Swords is in the 5th position, card number 5. And the Four of Swords, as you can see, it represents a person laying down at rest, basically. The person looks like they're asleep, right? So this indicates in the 5th position, the 5th card is what's behind you in the Celtic cross reading. And so this indicates that in the past, prior to September, Aries were in a period of rest, a period of recovery, a period of seclusion, perhaps a period of taking time out, just kind of, chill out and recover and rest. So that indicates that, Aries, they may have been, have had health problems. They may have been, burnt out, overworked, tired, stuff like that. And as a result, before September, they were resting and recharging and or recovering, or some combination of those things, or maybe one of those, or something like that. Take what resonates and leave the rest. But so yeah, essentially, in combination with the other cards, it signifies that again, September is going to be a bit of a fresh start for Aries, and in combination with the Emperor being the first card, and the Ten of Swords being the what's surrounding card, the second card of the reading, that indicates that essentially the worst is over, and that in the past, we were resting, or going into September, we've been resting and recovering, but that in the start of September, that it's going to be a fresh start, and that it's going to be our batteries are going to be recharged, and that it's going to be a good new beginning moment where we'll have a new level of vigor and vitality that perhaps has been missing lately. And it indicates for those that have been suffering from health issues, perhaps, that things are going to be getting better. But I'm not a doctor, so these are tarot readings. So if you have any medical or health issues, then see a doctor. So I'm not a doctor. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Reliability reasons, I'm going to say that. So yeah. And for practical reasons, I'm going to say that too, even if liability wasn't an issue. But anyway. Anyway, geez Louise, yeah, I guess I should show the other cards in the reading as well now, because I didn't before. But yeah. This is the first card of the reading, which is the Emperor. It's the card that is attributed to the sign of Aries, because in the tarot, each of the cards generally corresponds to a different astrological factor. For instance, all of the trump cards each correspond to either a sign or a planet. All of the trump cards, and the Emperor is one of the trump cards. And the rest of the cards, the numbered cards, each correspond to generally a specific planet and a specific sign of the zodiac. And it's based on the faces of the zodiac, which is an ancient traditional astrological classification, basically assigning planets certain dignity in certain signs, which means that planets are essentially, they act better and they operate a bit more effectively in certain positions of signs. And the rest of the cards, like the aces, aren't attributed to any specific sign or planet, but they are attributed to the elements, which obviously are, you know, vital components of astrology. And the court cards represent basically various cycles of development between people who are primarily based around the elemental nature of the card in question. So, for instance, the fire cards, there's the Page of Wands, and there's the Knight of Wands, and then there's the Queen of Wands, and then there's the King of Wands. So, the Page of Wands would be like a young fire sign person, right? And the King of Wands would be an older fire sign person who has, you know, more power and established, you know, experience, authority, generally a position of leadership, you know. Um, so yeah, so basically each of the tarot cards represents some astrological factor. So the Emperor is the first card. It signifies, the first card signifies where um, the person is at the start of the reading, essentially, and it signifies the person in the reading. So for us Aries, during the month of September, we're the Emperor, which is a good thing. It's our card, and it's one of the most powerful cards in the deck. So it's pretty auspicious, actually. And what surrounds us during the month of September is the Ten of Swords, which is it looks worse than it is. Like I said, it primarily represents the worst having been over. So, like I said, going into September, this indicates that the worst is already behind us before September, and that things are only going to get better from beginning of September onwards. And this is the card number 3 that crosses us during September, and that's the Six of Wands. And again, in combination with the other cards, that indicates that in September, you know, we're going to be going after our objectives, and you know, perhaps pursuing a position of leadership, or pursuing like career advancement, or consolidating power or resources or whatever. But the issue is that for Aries collectively is that with the Six of Wands in combination with the Emperor, the Six of Wands crossing the Emperor, is that it's important to remember to do so in an ethical way, and to do so in a way that is responsible, and that because essentially this combination indicates that it indicates that you may be a role model for others. So with that being said, you want to set a good example for others, and you want to you want to behave in a way that's just and fair and ethical, and that like I said before, people in the pursuit of status and power and all those things, there are some people that gain it, in responsible and ethical ways, and there are certainly some people who don't, who gain it in ways that are, you know, either, pretty crappy or pretty terrible, evil, whatever you want to call it, right? Well, obviously there's different degrees, right? There's a difference between a person who's, a backbiter and someone who's like just, fucking monster, like, Senator Palpatine or like Hitler or something like that, right? But either way, it's a good idea to behave in a way that's responsible, and to set a good example for others in the pursuit of whatever it is you may be pursuing during September. And the fourth card is the World, which means that, again, that coming into September for Aries collectively, we've just had a graduation or a completion of some sort prior to September. So again, this indicates that also it indicates that, well, for one, September is going to likely be a new beginning, and two, it indicates that it's important that you make sure that past accomplishments, past achievements, and stuff like that are recognized, and that present yourself as someone who is accomplished, experienced, and knowledgeable, and worldly. It's the world, right? Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, for the card number 6, this is what crowns you, and this is the Three of Swords. And what crowns you is the card that represents it represents an energy or a situation that could happen during September, but may not. It's a very mutable card placement. So it's something that that's a lot more fluid. It's something that it's kind of up in the air. It's something that could possibly happen but may not. So yeah, that's essentially what it represents. So what that means is that with the Three of Swords in the crowning position, that indicates that September may be a time where a sacrifice may have to be made. Something may have to be cut out of your life during September. And it may be something that some of you may not want to let go of. And for others, it may be something that you realize has to be let go of and you want to let go of. And and for others, it may not even really be a factor. It depends. Like I said, take what resonates and leave the rest. So yeah, these are collective readings. So everything that I say here isn't going to apply for every Aries. Just remember that. So, but yeah, there may be something, and like I said, this card is fluid anyway. The fifth card, or the sixth card, what crowns you, is fluid anyway. It represents a potential that could happen or could not. So for a lot of you, there may not be a sacrifice, or there may not be a heartbreak or something that you have to give up. But for some of you, there will be. And moreover, what this signifies is that during the month of September, that bad choices made during this month of September could come back to haunt you. Right? So, like I said, with what I said previously, is that you want to behave in a way during September. Well, you want to behave in a way anyway, no matter what month it is, and no matter what tarot reading you get, in a way that's ethical and responsible and all that. So to limit perhaps having to give up on things that are important to you, or having to sacrifice something that's important to you, then it's a good idea to, like I said, behave and act in a way that's responsible and that sets a good example for others. And then, by doing that, then you limit the possibility of, possible heartbreak or possible having to give up on something that is important to you, right? And this is card number 7. It's the Eight of Pentacles. As you can see, it's a young man working diligently on a project. So that means this is a reading for September, so uh, card number 7, that one it represents what's going to happen in the near future. So roughly that represents like somewhere around the middle of September. So that means that by around the middle of September, collectively, Aries, you're going to gain skill in your chosen fields, your professions, your educational pursuits, your career pursuits, whatever it is, whatever they may be, that you're going to be gaining a certain level of skill and craftsmanship that's at a higher level than what it currently is by roughly the middle of September. So you're going to be improving your skills. You're going to be um, gaining more experience, gaining better technique and stuff like that. And that you're going to be advancing in whatever areas of interest that you invest your time into, right? So it's important to remember with this card is that you want to think like a craftsman and you want to avoid perfectionism. You know, the reality is that there's a saying that the perfect is the enemy of the good. What does that mean? It means that essentially is that in perfectionism, a lot of people they'll have good ideas and they'll have things that could be profitable and things that could um, advance their career and things that yeah, ideas that could be fruitful for them, right? And a lot of people, because they'll get trapped in this cycle of perfectionism, where they'll have this great essay or this blog idea, right? And they'll and because like they'll look at the draft of their essay, right, their post, and they'll just be like, okay, this is really good, but it could be better. So then they spend like they spent maybe 2 hours or something writing that essay, right? And but then they spend another 10 hours on it trying to like make it maybe 10% better or 15% better, right? And then by the end of that 10 hours they're still not happy with it, so they never post it, right? But the reality is it was good enough, and it could have been successful for them regardless. But a lot of people they'll think that because whatever work that they do, it's not completely perfect, or whatever creation that they create, or whatever idea that they have, that it's not ideal, then they'll cause them to um, delay it and push it backwards or push it forwards, right? They'll push it forwards for like another week or so, right, to get the perfect um, or another month, another year, whatever, right, to get the perfect quality of it, right? And that time, another person could come up with the same idea and beat them to the market, right? If it's an invention or whatever, right? Or a essay idea, right? In that case, then the person who thought of it earlier but was a perfectionist, they lose out because the other person actually published it, or actually um, marketed it earlier, right? So yeah, the importance of that card is to remember, to think like a skilled craftsperson, to do a good job, but to do a job that's efficient as well. You want to do a job that balances quality and efficiency, because you can have, if you do that, if you balance quality and efficiency to the best extent, then you can get the most you can get the most productivity, you can get the most done, and you can produce more, but you can also keep it at a good quality. But okay, let's say this hand is quality, right? And this hand is efficiency. Well, if you raise quality, right, then to the highest level basically, then your efficiency goes down. But if you keep them at a balanced level, quality and efficiency, then you're going to be producing good quality stuff, but also, not taking a million years to do it, right? So, but if you also, on the other hand, if you value efficiency too much, then the quality goes down, and you may be producing a lot, but it's crap, So the important thing is to remember is that you want to have that balance point between quality and efficiency, so that both are as good as they can be while not sacrificing the other. And if you keep them at that point, then you can produce good quality stuff and also produce a good amount of it as well. And by doing that, you basically maximize your potential for profit or um, success, or depending on what it is you're doing, right? Okay, this is the card number 8. It represents how you should present yourself during September. And we have the Justice card as card number 8. Well, that indicates that during the month of September, you should present yourself to others as someone who's fair and balanced and rational. And that you should present yourself as someone who understands the meaning and significance of paying your dues and acting responsibly and ethically, and acting in a reasonable and just and fair manner towards others and towards yourself and towards you know whatever it is you're doing in the world, right? So yeah, in combination with the other cards again, like with the Emperor being the first card and Six of Wands crossing the Emperor, um, it indicates, again, it adds to that signification that it's important to act responsibly and ethically during September, and to act with fairness as well. Well, I mean, is fair is just responsibly and ethically does cover fairness as well, but I guess that's just another words that I can throw in to kind of highlight the meaning. But anyway, this is card number 9. And this is the card that represents how people will see Aries during September of 2020. And this is the Two of Pentacles. As you can see, it represents a young man. He's juggling two things at once. So during the month of September 2020, other people are likely going to see you as juggling a lot of things at once. People are going to see you as having multiple projects or things on your plate, and they're going to see that they're going to see you as adaptable and nimble and versatile and busy, essentially, during the month of September. moreover, it can also represent that other people could see you as finding balance or finding an equilibrium, in your life or your personal relationships or, in your career or any combination of those areas. You could be seeking an equilibrium or balance, between those different aspects of your life. So, yeah. Uh, Card number 10 is the Knight of Pentacles. That's a court card, and it represents an earthy person of who's young but not um, who's a young adult most likely, um, and that is in card number 10 of the Celtic cross reading, which is it represents hopes and fears of the situation, generally fears of the situation. Um, so during the month of September, um, the Knight of Pentacles is a very slow-moving card. Yeah, it's a card that represents, slow and steadiness and practical matters, tangible things. It represents earthy things rather than intuitive or emotional or things like that, or creative things. It represents, tangible, tangible work and like grounded work. So, and it's a very slow moving card. Um, it represents slow progress as well. So essentially, like the fears of Aries during September 2020 is that uh, is that in whatever endeavors that you're pursuing, be it career or love or uh, education or whatever it may be, right? Spiritual. Um, that the progress you make, your fear during September is that the progress you're making is too slow in whatever areas of your life that's your focus, right? And your fears during September is that the progress you're making is too slow. So, the thing to remember of that is that slow progress is better than no progress, and that slow progress is better than, a fast regression, right? Because, sometimes if a person tries to speed up a process that shouldn't be sped up, then they'll just go backwards. They'll just it'll cause them to make a mistake or to be sloppy or whatever, right? So the important takeaway for this is that you know you likely are going to be making progress during September in your chosen avenues of the things that you're progressing towards. Um, but if you're not progressing as fast as you think you should be, then remember to have gratitude for the progress that you do make. And that if you do think that you should be going faster and advancing quicker than you are, then you should think about how realistic it would be to speed up that process and whether it's feasible or whether it would be, just a blind gamble. You know? And if it's feasible, then, give it a shot and try to go faster, right? But if it's something that you think about it and you realize that if I try to speed this up, I could screw it up, right? Maybe I should just take my slow progress and take the progress that I have and build upon that, right? So it's a different, it's going to be just different decision for most of you, right? So um, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, you want to remember that slow progress is better than no progress at all, and that on the plus side, this indicates that the progress you do make is going to be steady and stable, which means that can be built upon very easily during the month of September. So that's definitely a bonus. Because sometimes people, they make progress and advance, but it's unstable and it's not. And it's something that it's like building a house on quicksand. It just kind of sinks, right? Once it's done, right? So um, yeah, yeah. Sometimes another signification of that is sometimes um, being slow and steady is the way to win the race. So yeah. And in the final position, we have the Seven of Pentacles. And the final position is what happens in the later future of the Celtic cross reading. The final card represents the final outcome. So since this is the reading for the month of September for Aries, the final outcome is the Seven of Pentacles, which is the final outcome will be roughly around the end of September is where you'll be at then. So the Seven of Pentacles, um, it represents a young man plowing in his field. And if you see, he's gathered up, he's harvested all these pentacles, which could represent, pumpkins or squashes or whatever, right? And now he's gathered them all up, he's harvested them, and now he's looking at his work, and he's assessing it, and he's reaping, he's reaping the seeds that he's sown previously. He's reaping the fruits of his previous labors, right? So this is a good card for having this as the final card um, in this reading, specifically in this reading, because this reading has a lot to do with material things and resources and the consolidation of power and structures and things like that. This reading, it also, there's a theme in it of work as well, and of building your skills and you know, taking steps towards the things that you're working on. So essentially, what this indicates is that by the end of September, is that it's going to be a time of harvest. It's going to be a time where the work that you put in will pay off in a tangible way that you'll be able to see and recognize pretty clearly to a much greater extent than you can now, or that you could at the beginning of September. And moreover, it represents assessment as well. So by the end of September, you're going to be looking at the things that you're going to be looking at the things that you've done and the work that you've done and the skills that you've honed and worked on. And you're going to be thinking, you're going to be looking back at that, and you're going to be thinking, well, what can I do to adjust that? Can I make changes to anything that I'm doing to make myself more productive or better, better skilled and all that, more efficient, and you may be revising certain things. You may be saying, okay, I could do this a bit differently. I could do that a bit differently. You may be modifying and altering the way you do things by around the end of September. Or you may just be looking back at how you've been doing things and basically assessing and looking for ways to improve your performance or to get better results than you did up to then. So, but also it represents, like I said, it represents a time of harvest. It represents previous seeds planted being harvested. It represents prior labors, prior work paying off. It represents like dividends, like gains, harvest, stuff like that, right? And as clarification for the final card, I drew the star, which is a great card. Star, it's the wish card. It's one of the wish cards. It's the star. It's the star. Stars are awesome, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, the star is one of the most positive cards in the deck. It represents wish fulfillment. It represents rejuvenation. It represents hope. It represents um, recovery, healing, um, optimism, faith. So, and again, it represents wish fulfillment because if you remember, like in Disney movies and old fairy tales and stuff, they'd say, if you wish upon a star, then you may get it, right? So like it represents, fulfillment of wishes and things like that. So this represents that if you do things, in the right way, and you know, um, and follow the advice of the reading, that and follow your own inner voice and your own inner guidance as well, because you better than I know you. So, you know, like I said, this is a collective reading. So some of it's going to apply for some people, and some of it's going to apply for other people, and some of it isn't going to apply for some people, right? So, but if you do the right things and make the right choices, this means that not only at the end of the month can it be a time of harvest and a time of you know rewards for previous labors and accomplishments and work and all that, and reaping what you've sown and all that stuff. But if you do things in the right way, then you can also get wishes fulfilled, and you can get circumstances that come into your life at the end of September that that greatly enhance your life, and that provide you with optimism and faith and renewed confidence, renewed happiness in your circumstances, right? So it's a pretty good reading actually. So anyway, um, this is my first video tarot reading, collective reading anyway too. So like I've done readings in the past, but this is it's interesting doing a collective reading because you're reading for like so many people, right? Like this is for Aries. There's a lot of Aries out there, right? So it's like, geez, like it's a bit different doing these than it is for like a personal reading, because with a personal reading, um, I'm talking to a specific singular person, and I can ask them questions about their life and stuff like that, and have some of that data too, right? And I can be more specific because I know exactly who I'm talking to, right? But with this, it's I'm talking to a bunch of Aries, so it's like I don't know specifically which ones I'm talking to, right? So this is like I said, it's general, and some of it's going to resonate for some people, and some of it isn't. And for some people, a lot of it is going to resonate, and for some people, perhaps not a whole lot will resonate. So, um, like I said, take what resonates and leave the rest. And that's why these YouTube, general reading videos are actually pretty good for like developing your intuition, because you can watch the videos and you can say, okay, well, this would make sense intuitively. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, what they're saying is true there. And then they may say something else, or you may watch another video and you're just like, no, that doesn't apply. No, that's not the case. Yeah. So these videos, they're pretty good for like developing intuition and stuff like that. But yeah. Um, anyway, with that being said, I also offer, I'm going to be offering private readings as well. So if anyone's interested in that, the information for how to get private readings with me will be in the video description. It'll also be on my homepage for my channel, which is Roger the Wise. And so yeah, if you want a personal reading, those can be done via Skype. And I'll have my rates and all that stuff in the description as well. So yeah, this is my first video, and forthcoming will be videos on the remaining 11 zodiac signs. The next video will be likely Taurus, and so yeah, I've said all that I have to say. Um, uh, hmm, have I said everything I want to say? Hmm, oh, it looks like it's gonna be a good month, so yeah, I don't have anything better to end this with. Sorry, but no, it looks like it's gonna be a good month. So, signing off. Thanks.